My name is David Lucci and I'm the CEO of ACURX Pharmaceuticals. My vision is to launch a new class of life-saving antibiotics. My passion throughout my career has been to use my skills and resources to make the world a better place by developing new innovative therapies. It's been a long journey, but it will be a rewarding one. With ACURX's new class of antibiotics, we believe we can realize this vision.
Cheers, guys. Cheers to this successful milestone with ACURX with our Bezapol Stout.
Yeah, I remember when we started working together, the first time we met was at an Italian restaurant in Midtown, like a lot like this. And that was all the way back 17 years ago or so, 2007.
I think partnering with Dave Lucci has been totally rewarding. Over the years, we're kind of joined together at the hip and complement one another's skills, I think, very nicely. And I think particularly with our success so far with ACURX, that's proven to be true.
So the story of my meeting Bob DeLucci, our executive chairman, and my partner now for 17 years, we met after my first company, BioVision, was sold to Genzyme.
Dave Lucci and I were partners in the previous company about almost 7 years ago.
The largest shareholder in BioVision had as a portfolio company Macrochem Corporation, where Bob DeLucci was the CEO. And our largest shareholder said, we made the most money off of any shareholder, Perseus included, in BioVision. You're a rabbit's foot. Would you go into this other company? We own a significant interest. We're on the board. Give us a thumbs up or thumbs down on the product pipeline. After a year's time, I said to Bob, I don't like any of this stuff we're working on. I think we can go find better stuff. I think we've seen better stuff. You and your past career and me helping out other healthcare companies from my law firm. We started working with Robert Shawa, my freshman roommate from Bucknell.
So I met Dave in 1984. He was my freshman roommate at Bucknell University. We lived in a dormitory called Trax Hall, and we were on 4th Trax.
I met this guy, Fairfield Prep, that kind of thing, private high school, golf player on the golf team in high school. And I'm from a working class Amsterdam, New York, public high school.
He had his football jersey on the wall, and I came in with a little mini refrigerator and a green rug.
So I was a little trepidatious at first. I walked in the first day, I see this greenish, bluish shag rug, which was a surprise to me, and I wasn't real fond of it.
I don't think he liked the rug, but we got a lot of use out of the refrigerator. And that's where I met Dave.
We ended up spending so much time together. We were in the library from 8 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, virtually every day during the week.
And then after graduation, we kept in touch. When he started Dipexium, around that time, he called me. He said, Rob, I want to start this company. We need an accountant. Would you come help us?
Thinking back with fond memories of how Dave and I started the company, after we sold Dipexium, our former company, we had dinner with the great idea of starting something new. And that restaurant was in New York City. It happened to be at a restaurant that I remember. Its name was Stella de Mare. We sat, we chat, we made the decision. We were aware of what was out there. Should we do it? Shouldn't we do it? We decided to do it. And in retrospect, one of the best decisions we've ever made together.
There are over 83 million dogs and 50 million cats in the U.S. Up to 80% of senior cats and dogs can suffer from osteoarthritis. Spring is helping to manage their osteoarthritis and is now available in all 50 states and over 800 veterinary clinics. Learn more at newtothestreet.com. Pet Vivo, a publicly traded company, ticker symbol PETV.
Is your garden struggling to stay hydrated? Meet Waterless Garden, the organic solution that saves water and boosts your garden's health. Packed with humus materials and trillions of beneficial microbes, Waterless Garden improves soil structure and increases water retention. Use less water, get better results, and watch your garden thrive. Waterless Garden. Less water, more life.
Clean Vision identifies and supports innovative companies in clean energy and sustainability, helping organizations enter new markets faster and become more profitable. Clean Vision, the future of clean energy.
I'm Jane King, and this is New to the Street.
In that intervening 8-month period, Bob, you may remember we crisscrossed the country looking at these potential opportunities for in-licensing or acquiring, and ultimately decided upon ibezapolstat. And fortunately, we were able to buy it right and close that deal in February 2018. Yeah. And that was like the real start. So the first thing from that point in time that Bob DeLucia and I did together was to go around the country, talk to the people we know, and look for drug-related assets that we were excited about.
It's a typical structure in biopharmaceutical world where you find a product, the inventor has a patent, you can acquire the patent, and you usually make an upfront payment to acquire the patent based upon the development of the product and how far it has been taken at the time.
We looked at every opportunity, but we ended up finding another antibiotic.
And we found one that was discovered by two professors from Massachusetts.
Looked amazing. It turned out even better than we thought it was from what information we could glean at that stage of development.
And I had followed the progress that he had as the inventor, and Dave and I approached him, and we acquired all the rights to his product.
The incubator biotech or micro-cap pharmaceutical company space, industry sector, whatever you want to call it, it's really a new phenomenon that started about 25, 30 years ago. The big pharma companies traditionally 50 years ago had massive labs, and most prescription drugs, if not all, came from big pharma. What's happened now is that they're doing less and less of that because they realize that model is broken. That's given an opening for our sector.
I think also to think about when you acquire a product from an inventor, they usually don't have, they're scientists to begin with, basic scientists. They don't have the wherewithal or the knowledge base, the network needed for success to take it further. So they particularly would welcome somebody they trust that can, take their baby, if you will, and move it through the stages of development to commercialization.
What happens is 2/3 of the approved prescription drugs, FDA-approved prescription drugs today, they start at incubator companies.
Typically, the way these things go is, it's the small entity, the entrepreneurial entity takes most of the risk, brings it through the stages, and then passes it off to a bigger entity that has the efficiencies and the infrastructure in terms of, whether it's manufacturing, sales, and marketing, to take it from there.
Now, unfortunately, George Wright, who was the founder of the ibezapolstat and held the patent, passed away about a year ago. However, we're still in touch with the family and will, pay those milestones to the family as the successor of George.
How long did you know George Wright when that he trusted you to take this thing on?
I'd say about a year.
Okay.
About a year, because he was previously funded by NIH grants and moved it forward and was ready to take forward into getting into clinical trials.
Yes.
Which at the point in his career, he was not able, he was getting on in years and wanted to put his baby, if you will, in the hands of somebody he could trust.
Yeah.
So when he met Dave and I, he said, all right, I can trust you guys to move this forward. And in retrospect, we did.
Out of control inflation, escalating government debt, gas and energy bills burning through your savings, and a spiraling war in Europe. The world feels like a very uncertain place right now, and it's harder and harder to take control of your money and safeguard your savings. I mean, why would anyone want to keep their money in a bank that's only going to lend it out for its own profit? Putting your savings at risk, and for what? A pittance in interest? Well, let me tell you about Glint and how they can help you to save in real gold you can spend like dollars. Now, first off, Glint's not a bank or crypto or some new type of credit card. What Glint provides is the ability and freedom to buy, save, and spend real allocated gold that's secured in Brink's vaults and insured by Lloyd's of London. Glint's Smart app and MasterCard is leading the payments revolution, putting you in control of your money by making real gold, trusted for thousands of years, into an instant, secure digital currency for the modern world. Best of all, your gold is always your gold. It's no one else's liability. It's secure and allocated to you. It never goes away, even in a crash. To learn more, go to glintpay.com or download Glint from your favorite app store. It's time to take control of your money and protect it with the time-tested security of gold and the modern digital convenience of Glint. Gold is security. Glint, it's key.
Antibiotic resistance is exploding in numbers as well as severity, and the trends are alarming. Clostridium difficile, which causes deadly diarrhea, is up 400% since 2007.
Our company that we co-founded and started operations in February 2018, it's called ACURX Pharmaceuticals.
Our lead antibiotic product is called ibezapolstat, and ibezapolstat is used in the treatment of C. difficile infection. C. difficile is the bacteria that causes a very severe and potentially life-threatening infection.
And that's 500,000 people per year in terms of incidence, and between 20 and 30,000 deaths per year.
So with the current treatments available, the recurrence rate is an issue. And that's a cost to the healthcare system because you're going back into the hospital or take another treatment, so any recurrence of anything is an issue.
Some people will have a recurrence of an infection, but not immediately after. It could recur in a year or 2 years, and it'll be a new infection again. Others will fail in treatment, and they'll get a recurrence a lot earlier. Recurrence can get progressively harder to treat.
And we're working on a new class of antibiotics called polymerase 3C inhibitors.
It has a unique mechanism of action. It kills the C. difficile bacteria, but it does not kill the healthy bacteria that is in the gut, unlike other antibiotics which do, and that causes a recurrence of infection.
We have a very narrow spectrum antibiotic. So what we found is our antibiotic is actually preserving and restoring the microbiome.
As a kid growing up, my aunt always told me, if you're taking antibiotics for strep throat, if you're a young guy, eat yogurt, right? And so the old timers would eat yogurt. Well, what was that doing? That was kind of restoring your stomach, your gut, because they knew that antibiotics were we're tough. We're tough on your system.
By day 3 of a 10-day treatment regimen, while we're curing 96% of the patients at the end of treatment with our antibiotic, by day 3 of the 10 days of treatment, we're fully restoring the microbiome. But why is that important? Because it's that disruption of the microbiome that is the biggest risk for patients getting recurrent C. diff. Because patients that recur typically recur over and over and over again. So the recurrent C. diff market itself is $4.7 billion of cost burden to the U.S. public health system every year.
You know, over the years, a lot of these antibiotics that you take, I take, or I give to my daughters when they were younger, they're names that have been around for a long time. Their names have been around for a very long time. So for whatever reason, the pharmaceutical companies have not developed very many new antibiotics. But now the problem is people are getting sicker and sicker, and a lot of these bugs are drug resistant, so there's a need. I'm very excited that we have a product that has had a successful phase 2, and an antibiotic that will really be a game changer for this really awful disease that affects mostly people in nursing home settings and hospital settings.
Recently, we completed a phase 2 clinical trial of our ibezapolstat, our lead antibiotic candidate. I call it IBEZ. And IBEZ was up against the standard of care, oral vancomycin, to treat patients with C. difficile infection in a 1-to-1 randomized study.
We presented these results at the international congress called ESCMID, ESCMID, which is the global microbiology organization, premier global microbiology organization where scientific evidence is presented.
And we performed quite well. In fact, we performed with data previously unforeseen in some respects. So we had an overall cure rate of 96% at end of treatment. And every single one of those patients who were cured had sustained cures and had extended cures. That sustained cures 30 days after end of treatment and extended cures 90 days after. If we can keep that data the same as it is right now in phase 3, then we will we won't solve entirely for the $4.7 billion recurrent C. diff market, because there are patients that are severe C. diff that won't get our drug frontline, but we'll solve for most of that $4.7 billion problem. That extended cure data, we haven't seen that data presented by any company or tested for it in the past. We noticed that we have a second dynamic of our drug.
The market for the drug to treat C. difficile is very large, depending on whether you just have the United States or worldwide.
And that has the potential for this particular product and sales volume anyway to be somewhere, I would call it a multi-$100 million product a year in annual sales.
So for those doctors who use our drug frontline, should we get through phase 3 consistently with the data we've already seen, I think we could take a substantial wedge out of that $4.7 billion.
We are now awaiting FDA final minutes on a meeting, end of phase 2 meeting to go with the FDA, that will confirm that we are ready to go into phase 3. And that's what we're planning to do.
Thousands of people use Phantom every day to access DeFi, NFT, Metaverse, and GameFi decentralized applications. On Phantom, you can trade, lend, and borrow in a fully decentralized way with instant speed and near zero fees. Whether you're an artist or a collector, there's a rich and accessible NFT ecosystem to explore. Join your friends in the Metaverse for exciting digital experiences or play revolutionary Web3 games. Join Phantom today.
Clean Vision identifies and supports innovative companies in clean energy and sustainability, aiming to meet global market needs while improving customer quality of life and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. At Clean Vision, we provide consultancy services, helping organizations enter new markets faster and become more profitable. Clean Vision, the future of clean energy.
Lameness issues, joint pain, and osteoarthritis can be difficult to treat and debilitating for an animal's health and well-being. Take control of lameness issues and joint pain. Introducing Spring with OsteoCushion technology. With just one injection, Spring with OsteoCushion technology targets the root cause of lameness issues, joint pain, and osteoarthritis, helping animals do what they do best.
Looking at this potential asset, you can tell early with an antibiotic if it's going to work or not work.
When Dave and I formed ACURX, we recognized that this product, at the stage that we acquired it, could go all the way. Primarily, it's in a field of antibiotics, which are new classes of antibiotics, which are fast-tracked by FDA. And fast-tracked because there's an urgent need for new classes of antibiotics in this field. So once we saw that, it puts us in a special box. Bezapolstat is in a special classification with the FDA. It's called fast-track designated status. And those are for antibiotics that treat infections that are urgently need new cures. In our case, a new class of antibiotics.
It takes years. It takes years. And so for everybody who's been involved, shareholders, consultants, employees, it's very exciting time to bring it to a phase 3.
ACURX Pharmaceuticals is a late-stage biopharmaceutical company focused on developing a new class of small molecule antibiotics for difficult-to-treat bacterial infections. With me is CEO David Lucci to explain the company's latest milestones.
Things with the FDA could not have gone better. We established and agreed on a regulatory pathway to FDA approval.
The development pathway is very straightforward, as was confirmed recently in our what they call end of phase 2 meeting with the FDA. We now know what the roadmap is to complete our phase 3 clinical program, and we also know the roadmap on what's needed to be done to file a new drug application in the United States and beyond the United States as well too, into other geographies.
And then they give you guidance as to what a phase 3 would look like, or what you should do.
And as a molecule and a particular product develops and you do more trials, you learn more things. And I think we're going to see even better data, new interesting data as we continue to develop Bezapolstat. And I think it'll be a premier competitor in the marketplace once we get there. It's been quite a while since a new chemical class of antibiotics has been introduced to the market. It's about 3 decades. One could call it a breakthrough, and I think that it'll make a very important distinction in the marketplace. There's a lot to differentiate from prior treatments, which are already having challenges with the C. difficile bacteria being resistant to the currently available antibiotics, and moved it through submissions to the FDA to begin to study it in human clinical trials, which we did. And we went through phase 1, we went through phase 2, recently completed, and now we're ready to move into phase 3, which is the last step to commercialization of a product.
And because of that success, the ability to go on to a phase 3. So that's what's very exciting. Basically, over a course of time, over the course of the past 6 years, hitting these certain milestones, phase 1, phase 2A, phase 2B, now on to phase 3. And that is very, very exciting to be a part of that.
At every phase, our drug, ibezapolstat, has pulled us through. And with every phase of clinical development that we get through, the company gets inherently and intrinsically stronger. Now, as we morph into phase 3 and beyond, we're going to have much more percentage-wise institutional ownership. That will mean much less volatility in the share price, and we'll have a share price that is going to align much more with the intrinsic value of our drug. And we think that that's important. It's part of the maturation process for a young company.
The thing that I think about and what drives me forward is the field that we're in and the ability to make something, albeit a molecule, right, that goes into patients with severe disease and see them cured.